got an exciting beer to try. And I don't know how old it is. I've got it chilling in this because old Saisons, you want to make sure you get them super cold before you open them because they might gush. This is La Moneuse from Blaugies or Blaugies. It's probably how you say it. Belgian brewer that makes a lot of really small batch, good farmhouse ales. They're perhaps more well known in America now because they brew a Phil Farmstead collaboration beer called La Vermontoise. A little bit of a play on this. The label looks kind of similar, but that's like a American hop Saison. This one is more of a traditional one, but it is strong. It's 8%. They say it's an amber. But also dry, hoppy, abundantly yeasty. And I've had this before, but not in a long time. The numbers on the cap are starting to fade. It says like something 24-15. And that cage just broke. I remember like 4 years ago, I was buying bottles of their old Darbeest. Some really old bottles, maybe 4-year-old bottles of Darbeest, which is their Belgian pale ale with fig juice, and that was getting kind of sour and interesting. But they're not really known as being a wild, sour farmhouse brewer. Ooh, that seems like it's gonna pop. There we go. And the bottle is green, so probably gonna have a little skunkiness to it. And it looks like maybe it was stored on the side for a while because it has some yeast sticking over here. We'll see what happens. It's a little exciting. But it's not gushing, you can see. The foam came up like only half an inch. And the first pour here is not chunky at all. And it's, not too dark actually. Let's get the bottle and the beer displayed nicely here. I'm smelling something that's a little bit aged, perhaps. Good carbonation, good head, good color, clarity. Ooh, but there's a little bit, something that smells slightly acidic. Let's see. Wow. Not really very skunky, actually. I just bought this from a store today that had it marked down. I swear there's some kind of acidity happening in this. Maybe it's from like a very tiny weird trace amount of Brett. And it's not lactic acid because I think when you get their beers fresh, they're not going to be sour at all. They're going to be Saison DuPont-like in a way. But this beer, I think, this brewery expanded in 2018. I'm pretty sure this was brewed before they expanded. It looked pretty darn good. I guess there's a little bit of some papery old hop stuff. There's definitely some twinge, which isn't a word, I should say tinge. Or wait, which one's a word? I forget. A little bit of some acidic thing. Not all lemon. Yeah, it's lemony, yeah. And the Saison yeast is not, spicy and pear-like and fruity. It doesn't have those classic esters and phenols that you think about from Saisons. Because of its age, probably. Very interesting. A lot sweeter and maltier than you'd think. Good mouthfeel. Wow. A little bit of a appley cidery note, caramel apple almost to it. Wow, interesting. It's definitely probably lost some of its hop bitterness, but there is some kind of acidic thing happening. But yeah, not skunk at all. not unpleasantly oxidized. I feel like the oxidation is just adding a little bit of a crabapple skin dryness to it or something. And sometimes I don't like these beers when they get too cidery, but I'm enjoying it. This is almost reminding me of some funky, like French naturally fermented ciders or something. Not quite Basque cider, because the Spanish Basque ciders are generally not carbonated like this. And it's not really like cider also because it has this dark color, which is adding the sort of caramel apple note to it, but it's not that sweet. Just a hint of heat to it, but you wouldn't know it's 8%. I think, yeah, there's a little bit, a teeny bit of Brett action, but I think this brewery, for some reason, however they do it, the Brett takes literally years to work. It doesn't really activate for years. Because I'm getting a little bit, a touch of a vinegary note. I don't think it's lactic acid, just a little teeny bit of Brett creating acetic acid, which you can do. Usually does it in barrels, but I think if something's sitting in a bottle for 5 years with a little bit of Brett in it, it's eventually going to create that sourness. That's what my guess is. A lot of people like to say Brett does not equal sour, but I've had plenty of experiences where it can do that. But just the teeniest amount of acetic acid. If you got more than that, then it would be vinegary, but it's not. It reminds me of malt vinegar, apple cider vinegar. Is there a date on the cork? No. I don't know if they changed it, but they just do hops on the cork. This is a fun beer. Definitely worth being able to buy for less than $10 a bottle. Do I like it more now than it would be than I'd like it when it's fresh? I don't know. Maybe it's a really, really, really interesting beer. I feel like this is what a lot of great bottled Belgian farmhouse ales would like. You get something like this if you bought them over the past 150 years or something. It might have some wild character to it. It might not, especially if you age it. It's probably going to have some wild character. Pardon me, very carbonated. But it's so masterfully made that I chilled it in the fridge for a few hours. It's not oxidized. That might be 5 years old thanks to a teeny amount of Brett that ate up the oxygen. I mean, that's a little bit of oxidation, but it's not nearly as bad as I've had before. It's really cool beer. No American brewers are really making something quite like this. Probably deserves a 4.25. Very cool beer. Bye.